Stay hungry, stay foolish.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I have a dream. Will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Hey there, listener. Thanks for stopping by. Before we get the podcast started today, I just wanted to tell you about my Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the podcast and donating some money, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/KIPPOD. And there's 3 separate tiers there where you can get exclusive content, ad-free content, and you can even suggest questions for me to ask future guests on the podcast. So guys, make sure to check out my Patreon. Also, make sure to share this podcast on your social media accounts, link it to Spotify, review it on Apple. I would very much appreciate that. So thanks guys, and enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the Knowledge is Power podcast. I'm your host, Max Willett, and today we have another great guest, because like I say in all my podcasts, all my guests are great. So his name is Jeremy VonFlatern, and is it Flatern or Flatern?
It's Flatern. It's Flatern. It's one of the most commonly misspelled words in my life. This is my last name. So,
and he works for Province Mortgage, but basically runs his own business because he has his own team when it comes to mortgage, and has the best team, I think, and puts out the best social media stuff, especially the Yoda thing that you put out yesterday.
That was fun. It was a good
2
time.
days ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your family life and your business and everything like that.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, Max. I really appreciate it. As many people will tell you that know me, that I never at a loss for words. So this should be fine for you today. So my name is Jeremy VonFlatern. I run a team from Province Mortgage called we call ourselves Team VonFlatern. Really original there. Went out of the box. Basically what we do is we help people buy and sell residential properties, 1 to 4 unit properties, the team aspect was more about trying to be able to grow the business, but also be able to do it with a customer-friendly atmosphere. So trying to make sure we focus on the clients and making sure their experience is great no matter what. So that's why we did the team thing. And it was fun, learning how to grow a team. And I decided that, I had a goal of business that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. What I did was I just looked up, there weren't a lot of people locally that did the amount of business that we wanted to do or grow to. So I looked up the top couple hundred producers in the country, and then just started calling them all, called their cell phones, and just asked them. I said, how do you do this? And so a lot of them had their own ways and stuff. And I'll tell you that a lot of people here locally have started doing it as well, which is great. And really, again, it's, everybody kind of has their own system, but, setting it up as a team, because, the reality is, if I work with 100 people, I can give them that service. And if I work with 200 people, there's no way I'm going to give them the same service I gave 100 people. It's just not possible, right? It's not enough time. So that's really the thought behind it. So it's been great. But I live here in Charlestown, out in South County, in Rhode Island. We say South County, but it's actually Washington County, right?
Yeah, I know, that's weird. Yeah,
yeah. I honestly don't know where that came about, but it's pretty funny.
Is there even a South County?
There is not.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, South County Commons is where my office is, right, in Wakefield. But yes, no, there is no actual South County legally.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, that's weird. I'm now realizing that for the first time.
Yeah, our Rhode Islanders decided to make it South County. So
yeah.
And we get what we want here. So, I live in Charlestown with my family, my wife and 3 kids. I have a 13-year-old, 7, almost 8-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old. She just turned 3. She was my 40th birthday present, born 2 weeks after my birthday.
Wow.
So yeah, not quite what we expected, but she's been a blessing. She's amazing. So
yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, because, a lot of people are probably wondering how we met. Yeah. So just like Amanda and Benjamin, I know Jeremy through business networking, BNI Business Networking International.
Yep.
Got that out. And he's been great. He's been one of the, I'd say, mentors of the group for me, at least. He's been awesome. And I would say that he's the best person to get mortgages through, but I have somebody in my family that does it too, so I'll say they're even.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, you know Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally forgot that. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
you guys are even. You're both the best.
Yeah. Well, reality is this. There are really a lot of great mortgage advisors out there, and I think it's funny because everybody says, "Oh, I'm the best. I'm the best." Well, it's for some people. You know, what I mean, I think it's a very personal decision. When people come to you for their mortgage, they have to. What I joke around and say all the time is they have to get financially naked in front of you, essentially. And, and for some people that's really hard to do. So if the personality clicks, it makes it a lot easier. So I think there's lots of great people that do what we do.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of ties into marketing because I was talking to Amanda about that a lot and how transparency is ideal and key in modern business.
Sure.
And you've been doing a lot of that through your social media.
Yep.
And I feel like when somebody meets you for the first time, they've already seen you all over the place.
It's definitely it definitely helps, and obviously all jobs in general, all businesses are marketing, right? I mean, it's marketing first, and whatever you do next, because marketing is what helps you get your word out, how you do your business, what you do, why people should work with you, things like that. And then, and then the rest, you do. There's lots of great mortgage advisors in the world, right? Or in the state, there's lots of great ones. I work with a bunch at Province that are very, very good at what they do. And I network and talk with a lot of people that are top producers in the state and in all 3 states. Because I lend in, Mass, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and Florida. But obviously Mass, Connecticut, New Hampshire primarily is where I meet with people. And, so there's lots of great people that will do what I do. And the reality is the reason why I will get more business than some is because I'm out networking or out marketing, right?
Yeah.
And marketing is how you grow your business always. So there's so many great tools out there these days, right?
Yeah.
And we joked about the TikTok stuff I do, and which Smith, who's my marketing coordinator on my team, has been trying to get me to do it forever.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but there's just so many great things to do these days, and it really does showcase your personality because you can be positive and really have and very professional and so forth, and and then others like TikTok you can just kind of be goofy, right?
Yeah.
So
well, it's definitely a downside of a lot of companies that have been around for a while and aren't able to adapt to that.
Right.
And people, it's easier to buy from somebody you feel like you already know, right? That's why I think like YouTube merchandise, like those guys make so much money off of the merch that they have.
Very much, yeah.
Because you feel like you're buying from a friend,
right?
Because you've known them for quote unquote years,
right? You've been watching them online.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they want you to see, but still,
yeah,
it feels very personal. It's much easier to buy from them. Agreed.
It's brilliant because I mean I haven't bought any of it, but I mean I've been watching this one guy on YouTube since like 8th grade.
Yeah,
and it's kind of cool just to see how they progress as a person and as a content creator.
Yeah,
and if he went and started a company, I guarantee you that company would be instantly successful. And the same thing that happened with this guy called Doug DeMuro.
Okay.
He does car reviews.
Nice.
And he built this massive audience, 3 million subscribers on YouTube, gets millions of views on each of his videos sometimes. Yep. And then he launched this competitor to Cars.com. It's called, something in bids, car and bids or something like that.
Yeah.
And he launched it, and there's thousands upon thousands of vehicles.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yep.
And it's brilliant. Like social media is, if you catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, the reality is, again, it's a tool, and if it's a lot of work to do it, and to be consistent with it, right?
Yeah.
So that's obviously the other big thing. It's one of those, I think it's honestly what stops people from doing it a lot is they're like, well, what am I going to say, or how am I going to do it, or and just like anything, you just come up with a plan, right?
Exactly.
So as we have a marketing plan with what we do, and when we implement something, part of the discussion is, all right, well, how do we continue to do it? How far ahead do we get it? How do we get in advance? I'm sure you shoot a couple podcasts, whatever in a row. You're gonna, same thing. We're gonna shoot a bunch of videos. We're gonna do a lot of things in a row. So we have a bunch in the hopper. So that way, if something gets delayed or something happens or whatever, we have stuff to fall back on. You can still be consistent with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hardest part. I think that's what most people get really hung up on is how can I be consistent with it? Right?
Yeah.
Your YouTube channel is great. It's a lot of fun. But you're also consistent, like you're continuously doing it, which is where it's at.
Yeah, 'cause that's the thing. Some people can get lucky with uploading like 3 or 4 times a year, But like there's this another YouTuber. I watch way too much YouTube. But
my almost 8-year-old would disagree. All he can do is watch YouTube. He loves it.
yeah. I mean, it's weird, but I mean, it's basically putting cable TV out of business.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but this guy Roman Atwood, I don't know if he did like a prank channel or something, but he went a solid year without uploading a single YouTube video. First video uploads gets like 10 million views. It's like,
well, that's marketing in some other way. People know who he is. So
yeah,
right.
it's just crazy. Like you can, like he built up his channel over several years.
Yeah.
And then he took a break. Imagine being able to take a year vacation
and then just pop back in and go take off like that.
And your videos are still making money because they're so popular.
Right.
They still get 100,000 views a month.
Right.
Which is nothing because they get like 6 to 7 million a video.
It's funny. I actually have a friend who has her own YouTube channel and does pretty good with it. And she's obviously had some ups and downs trying to figure it all out and whatnot. And she got monetized a while back. And it's really interesting how it works. But yeah, it's amazing. Like you said, how some people just they'll have that, right? They have that in and out. They can go, they can pop back in and like you said, just drop them in. Like obviously we're not there yet. Hopefully someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I would like to backtrack a little bit onto how you got Team VonFlatern going. Yep. So how did you? I mean, really did you start off working for like a team like you have now, or did you start off with Team VonFlatern from the beginning?
So I've been a mortgage originator for 17 years. I've so I went through the crash 2007 2008 where it was pretty crazy, and I've been through a few refi booms and things like that, and but when I got into the business in 2004, I basically just I learned the business, started writing mortgages, I went into I worked for a wholesale rep, so I kind of moved around different parts of the job, all in sales and all as an originator of some sort. But it was when after 2008 happened, and I worked for Citizens Bank for quite a few years, and I really enjoyed it. It was an internal loan officer there, but there was not a lot happening in the sales side of real estate for a while because there was a lot of foreclosures and values went down, things like that. So when that came back around, the sales part started to come back up. I was like, all right, well, I got to go back out and create business. So I came out on my own, and then once I kind of set like a newer goal with regards to the how much in business I wanted to do, just like from a volume perspective. I said, all right, well, obviously, when I look at people that are doing this throughout the country, they're not doing it by themselves. So how do I figure this out? So yeah, the first team I was on is the team I created, but just did it through talking through other people that do it and how they did it, and just tried to figure out. Again, you're gonna do it your own way, but they all kind of have a similar baseline of how the teams work together and how they function and how they flow and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is really the first team I've been on, was the one I created. So I'm kind of shooting from the hip on a regular basis, but again, through talking through these, I've kind of created my own little mastermind group with a lot of people that I know that do this all over the country, and I just bounce things off of them here and there when I need help. So
yeah. What do you think the most difficult hurdle was to get over when you first started?
Well, it's interesting. So this business, as I said, is very personal, right? So even though it's a business, right? And they always say, don't take business personal. It's impossible when we're handling somebody's future in their house and probably their largest investment of their life. Yeah. So I think the hardest part was learning how to manage the business within the team construct, right? And still be able to keep it personal. And it's still the challenge, it's one of those things where, it's really been the focus of the team when we're setting things up and how we can make it so that it doesn't seem so confusing. If you have a lot of people working on a file, like who am I talking to now? What's going on here? And so that's been our biggest focus, is trying to make that happen. And again, just, this is the largest investment of most people's lives. We want to make sure that this is as least confusing as possible for them. And so that's been, I would say, the biggest challenge still to this day. It probably will be forever, is trying to make it feel as personal as if you were my only client, but we happen to have hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was very similar to Benjamin, how he says, like, because he has to deal with people's hardships, just
Correct.
everyday life, and
Yeah.
it's not something that people want to admit.
Right.
Like if somebody says they want to buy a $350,000 house, but you're like, look at this, you can't.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Yeah, like I'd imagine it'd be tough to tell somebody that.
It can be. I mean, so the approach I take when I talk to people on the phone is I talk about them, because I can tell you what you can be approved for on paper. That doesn't mean you want to make that payment, right? I mean, I ask people, the first thing we talk about, the initial thing is to say, I said, well, what's your budget? And then they say, well, a lot of people, funny enough, are just not really sure, right? And I said, that's common. It's fine. I was like, well, let's start with how much you're paying in rent and things like that. We move through, and I try to get an understanding of where they think their paying threshold is for, listen, if the payment's this high, there's no way I'm going to do this kind of thing, and that's what we try to work on first, because again, if I look at it on paper and I say, well, yeah, you can totally make a $3,000 mortgage payment every month, and then but I don't know about, let's say, the child care that they have going on that they have to pay for every month for the kid to go to daycare or things like that. That can be a home mortgage payment by itself. So that in itself it makes it a little bit tough to narrow it down without actually knowing that information. So I always ask people about their budget first.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but that's how we kind of move through. So that's how hopefully we don't have to go to that point. But a lot of people will say, well, I'm looking for $1,000 payment, but I want to buy a $350,000 house. And that's not going to work.
No.
Your taxes and insurance might be that much.
Yeah, exactly. So. And I wanted to talk to you about the housing market, because I don't know when it comes, like I was saying this morning, I don't really know, only Dogecoin.
Yeah.
So and even that
it's
I don't know
crypto.
a lot about.
So here, the reality is this. If I had a crystal ball and I could tell you, I wouldn't be sitting here with you probably. You're a pretty good guy.
Yeah, thank you. You are too.
Thanks. No, I would say that it's interesting. The housing market right now or just the economy is really obviously the most interesting piece here, that nobody really knows how this is going to end up. We have no idea what the effects of COVID and so forth are going to be. So I'll tell you that the reality is that we're in a world economy now, right? So everything that happens economically everywhere affects everywhere. The United States being the most, right? So obviously we have one of the largest economies. It really drives a lot of what happens throughout the world and so forth. And so all mortgages are mortgage-backed securities, on the stock market somewhere. They're in a lot of people's portfolios for their 401ks, through real estate investments and so forth. And so, if a mortgage returns 3 or 4% or whatever it is these days, that's the investment, right? And so that interest is being paid out through their investments and so forth. So what we don't know is, again, when the foreclosure process is allowed to proceed again. So it's been on hold for a while now. It's over a year. And it's right now. The current order is that foreclosures can't happen until June of this year.
Just because people haven't been making.
Well, the government decided that was going to be the best option to basically stop foreclosures. Their problem with that is there's a million problems with that, but the biggest one that would somebody like myself who owns an investment property or two is going to say that. If they don't have, so technically they don't have to pay rent either. If they've been affected by COVID, they can just say, I'm not going to pay rent,
and they legally
legally don't have to, and I can't evict them, I don't have to pay my mortgage technically, but if I don't, when it does come time, it's gonna get foreclosed on, so I can't do that. I have to pay my mortgage still, so I'm paying the mortgage but not getting paid rent. So that's one issue.
Yeah.
The next issue is going to be a lot of the effects of when foreclosures do happen, right? So that's kind of
a lot are going to happen.
Just the reality of normal every year, there's X number of foreclosures, right, in the world, or in the country, and so those haven't happened. Just the normal ones. Forget COVID or whatever else could be going on, right? So at some point, that's going to happen. So you're going to have almost 2 years worth of foreclosures that are going to happen on top of whatever else could be. So that could make a real impact on the economic world from the real estate perspective, but also just in general. So we don't know what that's going to be or what that's going to do yet, or what measures might be put in place by the government or whatever to help out with us. Who knows, right? So and so it really, without getting political about it in any way, nobody really knows yet. So so that's it's hard to say what the real estate market is. You know, right now I can tell you from the reality standpoint, there's nothing on the market to buy, and there's a million people out there looking to buy something. So
That is weird.
what happened was rent went up, right?
Yeah.
So rent costs are going up, everything's going up. So now people are like, well, if I'm going to pay $1,500 or $1,700 a month for rent, I might as well buy a house.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be great if there were houses to buy. But and we've been so far up until this year. I mean, even right now, I think the single family homes for sale in Rhode Island are like $600-700 homes for sale, and single family homes in the whole state. You're talking about a $40 million house in Newport to that $25,000 mobile home somewhere. Like that's every house, every single family residence. And normally this time of year it's 3 times that, right? So it's not. Wow. And again, so you have a ton of buyers coming to the market, and you have no place for them to buy. So it's creating this crazy bidding war, which is driving up the house prices, it's making it a very interesting world. And again, nobody knows where this goes because we're in uncharted territories of shutting down an economy for an entire year almost. Yeah. And so nobody knows what happens next.
Yeah. And I don't count economics as politics, because I think there's things we can learn from each other on every side.
Sure.
So feel free to free reign on
economics. My point is, again, it's everybody wants to make everything political these days, and I don't think that's true. Again, economics are economics. Like inflation is what it is. It's either there or it's not. You know, and so and that's a real thing. They keep saying it's not coming, but it's already here. The cost of lumber has gone up like 400% or something over the last year. So like that alone. So you need lumber to build houses.
Yeah,
it's going to make the house
costs
go up.
That's why so many people are moving to states like Texas, where they have room to build more houses and at a low cost, lower cost.
Maybe, I think the cost of living is different, right? I think, again, from an economical standpoint, think about it this way. You're already seeing it right now in the commercial real estate world, where, people are they're like, well, we're not going back into the office. I can do my job virtually, right? Everybody's had to do it virtually. So companies have had to adjust, right? Or pivot down to be virtual. And so if I can, and now if you're like, let's say you've cut your staff by a third that have to come into the office, right? That third now doesn't even have to live here to do the job. They can live in Florida where the cost of living is less. They can live in Texas. They can live in Tennessee. They can live wherever they want. Mm-hmm. So I can go hire somebody down there to work for my company up here. Doesn't have to be a local person, so I don't have to pay them locally here.
Yeah.
And I can pay whatever their living wage is down there, which is much less.
Yeah.
So, the reality is I think people are also going places where like, well, I can still work virtually. I can just go live cheaper.
Yeah. So
I think that's part of it. It could be the lack of inventory. That definitely could be part of it too. So it's interesting. Again, there's a lot of factors I think going in, but at the end of the day, nobody has an answer as how this ends. Or how this comes out, or how we get back to quote unquote normal, whatever that may be.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
Yeah, I don't think. I think the human spirit right now is. It's tough, right? We're all like just stuck at the house, or stuck with our masks on, or stuck into our little local groups. And I think obviously that's expanding more. But I think, eventually people are just gonna be like, all right, I gotta see people. I think it's just I think it'll end that way pretty much. It's kind of that's what we're seeing now. But at the end of the day, again, we don't know. So it's hard to say. The state of the real estate market right now it's out of control. Because if you have 45 offers on a house, people are just overbidding, saying they'll pay cash for the difference if it doesn't appraise for as much. Like it's pretty crazy. And but it's cheaper for them to do that than it is to rent somewhere. So why wouldn't they do that? And
it's especially hard to predict what's going to happen because you can't go off of trends of the past because it's all different.
Right. We have nothing to base this on.
Yeah. So it's just happening. It's the same thing with like the stock market.
Correct.
It's just happening and nobody knows.
Well, I think it's funny the stock market and more importantly, what you were talking about with Dogecoin and so forth, and all crypto and stuff and EFTs. There's so much stuff that's happening in that world. It's just an unknown. So that's where it's difficult to base your your opinions or what you may think is going to happen going forward. It's virtually impossible, right? I mean, it's like, because nobody knows. It's unknown. It's uncharted territory. Although Bitcoin's been around for a while, there's been some things around for a bit.
Yeah.
And it's just a market that nobody really understands yet. So.
Yeah, and then it's weird because last week Dogecoin was at 30 cents, 29 cents.
Yep.
I bought at 27.
Yeah.
And now it's at 59 cents, and it hit 70 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And it's just been getting so much free marketing, essentially, online and Reddit and Elon Musk, and I think it'll hit $1 on Saturday.
I think it could. I think it's very interesting. I don't know. Again, I wish I could put my finger on it. Again, I don't do day trading, so I don't give financial advice in that world really, unless you're a friend of mine. But at the end of the day, I think it's interesting to see where it goes, and I think you just got to be. I think we talked a little bit about this. You got to be careful about what platform what you're trading on, and making sure that it can handle the buy and the sell as fast as you need to. And if you put your initial investment in, and then you go in and you take that out and you leave the rest of it in there, it's free money, so see what happens, right? I don't see an issue with it. I mean, it's just I think you can get caught. I mean, if you look at I think we talked a little bit about the GameStop, and that's just a little different altogether. But that got up over 400, and then stacked down to 159, which is really where it should be. And again, there were some issues when people were trying to get out of that trade. For whatever reason, there was lots of issues with it. But so it's a tough world to play in if you don't fully understand it. But you're not going to learn unless you do it. So
Hey there. Sorry to interrupt the episode, but I just want to take this chance to tell you to share the podcast on your social media platforms. Link it on your Instagram story. Follow Knowledge is Power _Rhode Island on Instagram. And leave a review on Apple Podcast if you're listening on that platform. So, thanks for listening, guys, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
So I guess you just start and figure it out.
It's tough because when it comes to being in a mortgage business, it's not like other industries where you have a whole different thing that's going on that not a lot of people know, and you have to run your business on top of it.
Right.
So I give you kudos because that's just weird. Like no other business, like my business, sure, things change in the 3D printing industry, but there's not like this detrimental thing that could put me out of business,
right?
Other than if they stop manufacturing in China,
right?
Which could happen, but it's a very low probability,
right?
And it's not like the housing market,
right?
It's just it's weird.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the reason why I like my market or like my business, I like it for a lot of reasons, but I love being able to, I went to school to be a teacher. I mean, that's really what I went to school to learn how to do, because I love teaching. And in effect, I in some ways I get to do that through this. I get to teach people how to buy a house. I get to teach people why they're doing what they're doing and what types of loans are out there and things like that. So I love that part of this job. But the reality is that you're in this business. We have to pivot. All the time. Like I said, when 2008 happened, when almost probably 2/3 of people that were in my business got out of it because they didn't know what to do next. I still enjoyed what I was doing. I just need to find another way to do it. So I went to work for a bank at the time because I didn't, there wasn't a lot of sales happening, and there was going to be enough refis to be happening, and nobody wanted to be part of a broker shop at the time because nobody knew what was coming down from regulation perspective there. And so, it was just the move to do for the time. And, you pivot, you figure it out, move forward and keep going. So there's always people buying and selling houses. That's always going to happen. People have to move. People have to do whatever. People pass away. People get divorced. There's all sorts of reasons why, right? People, have babies, grow families, things like that, get relocated for work. So all that happens. And so I think the reality is, it is a business that will continue to go on forever. How? Who knows? What avenue we're diving into next is completely different every time.
Yeah, it's beyond what I can understand.
Well, I mean, I think much like your 3D printing. I mean, I watched it happen, and I'm sure I could maybe learn how to do it if I really want to dive into it. But some of the stuff you do is pretty awesome, man. I love this stuff.
Well, I love the technology too. So it's ever changing.
You can tell you love it, which is cool.
Yeah, it's ever changing and getting better and better.
Yeah.
And I was saying the same thing on podcast with Amanda. It's like this technology will only improve and put other types of manufacturing and make them completely obsolete.
Right.
Like CNC and injection molding. So and hopefully I'm a part of the industry when that happens.
Right.
Because I think it will happen, and knowing how to use one of these, I think, will be just as useful as any other trade.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see, because
It's all good. I mean, I think anything you obviously, if you listen to any, successful person in their life, they've always been like, well, if you want it to happen, you can make it happen, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So the reality is, again, you have this cool niche, like, you were talking about with, obviously I'm a golfer, right? I like to golf, and,
Yeah.
and eventually we're gonna get out for a round. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever one of us can free up a minute.
Yeah.
And so, but I'll tell you that, you saying that, you manufactured a golf ball and a driver head. Like, I just think that's so cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I haven't printed any club heads yet, but the bottom came out iffy.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of
a
the
little bit, huh?
support.
Interesting.
But I have to read. I think I might print a couple more.
The rest is pretty cool, though.
But yeah, for those of you watching on YouTube, the whole 10 of you that are going to watch this, this is what it is.
It's neat.
But yeah, I mean, it is. It's pretty sweet.
It's really cool.
And they got weight to
They
them.
do. They have a good weight. I was wondering that. Yeah.
It's a little bit lighter than a regular golf ball, and it sounds like a rock.
What
when
about
you hit
compression? I was gonna say, yeah.
It's TPU, so it probably
It compresses a little bit.
more.
We'll have to get a video. We'll have to get a camera down. We'll slow it down so to see if it impacts.
Yeah, that camera. Those cameras are stupid expensive, though.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find one.
Yeah. Well, that would be sick.
That'd be fun.
But I'm actually there's this guy on TikTok.
Yeah.
That again he just responded to my email.
Yeah.
Because people, especially kids my age, don't even use email.
Right.
So I'm sure he doesn't get a lot, but he has over 1.5 million followers.
Yeah.
And he plays golf holes with weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, I've seen him. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Josh Mayer golf.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen him. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I sent him an email, and he got back to me.
That's
and
cool.
I'm like, well, I got to find, I think I'm going to have somebody design me the club head, because I can't find any files.
Sure.
So I think I got to reach out to a guy that does good CAD work, because I can sort of do it, but not to that extent. So I'll see. I might try it, but
yeah,
it's definitely something that I want to get right, because
it could be a good response for you.
Yeah, like I did the mace with that other guy. Like, that was awesome.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
But yeah, I mean, I love collaborating with people.
Yeah,
especially with companies, because not only does it expose me to your audience, it vice versa.
Sure.
So that's another reason why I did this podcast, is because I get to talk to people that I probably wouldn't talk to before.
Right.
And yeah, knowledge is power.
Right.
So
it's kind of, it's a lot of what BNI is too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, so it's a great introduction. Honestly, I give kudos to you for even considering doing it, because it's a really cool concept. It's kind of how I live my life anyway, like giver's gain kind of thing. But always, I've always just been like, I feel like if you help everybody else, they're going to help you back. It's going to happen. It's going to come around. I don't know if it's karma or whatever you want to call it, to be
karma
truthful.
Is totally true.
I believe it to be. I mean, I feel like if you're always looking out for the good in people, they're going to look out for the good in you, and that's just going to happen. You know what I mean? People are always going to be there for you if you're there for them. It's real. I mean, it's been that way my whole life. So if you continue on with that, I think it's going to work. So, in your thought, again, this is cool. This will help you, but also help him. And you're just like, listen, I just want to do something fun,
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, why not?
It gives him content, and it gives me exposure.
For sure.
So, I mean, and who knows, maybe I'll get something out of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just like saying it out and get some more followers on my TikTok. I haven't been posting as much as you have. I haven't posted in a while.
Yeah.
But
it's fun. I mean, I think it's like you said, it's one of those things. It's hard to be consistent.
You got to catch lightning in a bottle.
You do, for sure. I think so. But I mean, again, I think while you're doing it for business reasons, if you're doing it and having fun with it, it just makes it easier. It's like anything else, right? It's the only reason you love doing this so much, is because you love it. You actually enjoy it. You enjoy the technology, you enjoy the process behind it. So it's the same thing with marketing or anything else you do. If if you do it because you're really into it and you want to do it, it makes doing it easier, which also makes it come out that much better. I feel like the product itself ends up being better no matter what it is. It just will be better because your heart's in it, you know. So that's really I think, you know, no matter what it is. So, you know, whether, you know, TikTok, I mean, my heart's not in TikTok. I do get a kick out of TikTok, but I do enjoy doing it and making them, because for me, it's less serious marketing. A lot of our stuff is very professional and stuff, and I feel like, you know, we're in an industry where it probably should be for the most part. But you know, TikTok, we can be professional, but also be funny because it's just a copycat app, right? So they're just looking for you to basically copy what other people are doing and kind of do it in your own style. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, like that, it brings back to transparency. People appreciate there being a face to a company, and not being some big corporate company where you can't really relate to people.
Right.
That's why people like certain movies better than others.
Right.
And it's big. And a lot of companies, especially that I've seen and I, you know, sometimes worked at, it's like you're looking, they're like not doing certain things,
right.
and you don't get instantaneous response.
Correct.
It's not going to happen. It takes years to build that.
100%.
And they just expect it to happen.
Right. I think that's part of it too. I think you get a little discouraged, you know. It's funny, you know, because I do have other people in my business, and they're like, you know, well, you know, how come you're always so busy doing this or doing that or doing this? I'm like, because that's what I do. I'm like, I manifested it. I made it happen. Like, you know, this is what I want to do. I found ways to inject myself into areas where I needed to be to make sure that I was successful. So that's why it's not by mistake. It's not by accident. It's not because I'm a nice guy. Yeah. Although all those things probably help, but you know, at the same time, you know, it's all about just work. I mean, I joke with my buddy all the time on the phone. And he'll laugh if he sees this, but he's like, I'm gonna make sure that gets put on your headstone, because I say it to him all the time. I'm like, you know what the secret is? Work. Yeah. The end. There's no other secret. There's no other magic. You do the work. If you're invested, it'll make it work. Everything will happen for you. Yeah. So that's the end. There's no magic pill. It's not gonna you're not gonna throw one YouTube video up and all of a sudden, boom, you're like, you know, YouTube famous. That's not how this works. Yep. Some people get lucky, right? Backpack Kid, right? Came out of nowhere, right?
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who he is?
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, you gotta look him up. He's the one that did that. What's the floss? The floss. You know what flossing is? Yeah. So he's the one that like kind of made that famous. You got to go watch it. Yeah. Like literally one YouTube video and boom, that was it. Off he went.
Yeah, that's like, I like this guy, the Hacksmith. So he does a bunch of engineering projects. Like he's building the Mandalorian armor and jetpack and stuff like that. Nice. And it's awesome. He's been around for years, and he's an engineer. Like he has a manufacturing shop with 3D printers, CNC machines, plasma cutters, everything. Nice. And he doesn't even have a degree in engineering. And it's awesome because the guy is running a very successful business, and his logo is like Stark Industries. Nice. But it's Hacksmith Industries.
That's awesome.
It's literally like my dream. Yeah. Like that, like how he collaborates with different companies and projects and stuff like that. That's where I sort of got the inspiration. Have you reached out to him? No, he's in Canada.
So?
And
you can't go to Canada?
No, I'm not. I mean, we can't right now, right?
But, you should reach out to him. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because they've got like millions of subscribers.
You can get through to him.
Maybe I'll try, because it's weird, but because he does all this cool projects, but I don't know if he does like prototyping. Yeah. And I think that he would advertise that in his videos, but he doesn't. Which is weird, because there's a massive, like, billion-dollar industry of prototyping, more than that. Yeah, I mean, 3D.
Imagine, the implication or the applications that, you know, for all across every platform there is. Like, you can do all sorts of stuff with it.
Especially cosplay. That's like a big part of his channel. Right. Building a Mandalorian. Now, you know how many rich nerds would pay for that outfit?
Yeah. Oh my God!
If he manufactured that thing, he could get $10,000 for one of those.
No doubt.
Especially the ones he uses in his video.
Right.
Like, he could sell those and make a lot of money. That's funny. You know, with that. But I don't know why he doesn't do it. Yeah. But he creates really cool content. Oh, talking about nerd stuff. Did you see the lightsaber that Disney just released?
No. I'm a Star Wars guy, so no, I haven't seen it yet though.
Okay, so it's looks like a real lightsaber. Yep. You press a button and literally a blade comes out with an LED in it. No. And it's like, it's not like Not like those little plastic
Right,
ones that you
right,
fling
right,
out. You
right.
literally press a button and it goes. Zzzz.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I'm sure we'll own a few of those at my house.
I bet you they're not going to come out till next year. Or
it'll be all the money. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll probably be like $500, but I will drop $500 on that. You know,
That's awesome.
It's one of those things that's
phenomenal.
like Disney is. I'm like Disney is a weird company because I hate to love them.
Yeah, well, I mean, so when, you know, in all disclosure, my wife and I are Disney people, so we love Disney.
Yeah.
Like it's. I mean, I don't know if it's because you just go there and you feel like you're a kid or whatever, but we every Disney movie there is, all my kids are Disney kids. Like,
Yeah.
it's we spent my daughter's first birthday like she cared. She wasn't.
Yeah.
down at Disney.
Yeah.
You know? That was our reason for going.
Yeah,
right? So.
yeah. That's I'm not a big fan of the new Star Wars 7, 8, and 9.
I mean, I think for me, it's more like I agree. I listen. No, you can't beat 4, 5, and 6. You just can't.
Even 1, 2, and 3.
Right. Yeah. I okay. That's a great point because I think both people will go both ways on that too because it was I think they really stretched on one. They really tried hard to make it something different. When I don't think the original people wanted that so much. It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of them.
Like Darth Maul, like that was
He was incredible. Yeah.
Wow.
So I with Jar Jar Binks.
Duel of the Fates. That's what I remember. Like Jar Jar Binks, like he's like people focus so much on him, but there's so much like world building. Like those
Agreed.
3 movies.
Yeah.
And I mean that's the thing. I liked those movies because they built so much in terms of world building and plot. Yeah. And it was new.
Right.
7, 8, and 9 are just copy and paste with a lead character who gets nothing. Like nothing happens to her.
Yeah.
Like if you want to look at a greatly written female character, Wonder Woman, awesome movie.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Like
they did a really good job with it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Even 1984, the newer one, I liked it.
I didn't watch it. And I love superheroes. I'm a superhero geek too, but no, I didn't watch it. I really enjoyed the first one. I did. I thought they did an awesome job with it. It was great because that's one of the other things like Spider-Man, right? The backstory's been done like 700 times, all sorts of different ways. And I honestly think a lot of them are good. I don't think that any of them are better or worse. I think it depends on what you're looking for. The hard part is just taking something that was done so long ago at such extent through comic or whatever, cartoons, things like that, and then bringing it to like life like that. It's just hard. It's hard to like create something that's going to stick. And then obviously the biggest thing, what they look for is how far can they stretch it, right? How long can they make it go? And so I think that's why Spider-Man, like they always keep running into like the roadblocks because there's only so much to the story.
Yeah.
Right? Superman, there's different worlds. There's different,
I love that.
Right, so they could go a lot of places with that, But
the Snyder cut, did you see that?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was very good.
I thought it was better than anything Marvel has put out.
Yeah, it's hard because I love the reason why I like Marvel so much, or why I like the Avengers stuff so much, is because the Avengers was a very broad and not as super popular as the others, right? So like it was popular, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like we all know the characters, but but I think there's so many ways, so many characters, so many people they could work with on those movies that it made it easier to and not be not look like it's nostalgic or whatever. They could really kind of just expand on all of it. They could Black Panther was probably one of my favorite movies from that series. And I just thought it was so cool the way they created, Wakanda and all that stuff. Like, I just thought that was very awesome.
Yeah.
And, and just something I never thought was possible before. So I think, there's a lot of different ways you can go with it. With Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, like, the story is the story. Like, it's been done a million times. Everybody knows what it is. It's really hard to venture out on it. But like you said, Snyder did a really good job.
Yeah, I really, like, I split it up. I watched 2 hours and I watched another 2 hours, but I could watch it all the way through.
Yeah.
Like the only reason why I did that is because I was at my house.
Because that's a lot of time.
Well, like, and I had to come here. So like, I watched it at my house, came here, put it on this TV, and then tinkered with the printers and got stuff going, and watched it. And I was like, this is especially that. Oh my God, the spoiler alert.
No, don't do it.
I said spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Skip 10 seconds.
Yeah.
The Flash.
Yeah.
Like when he, like after they fail, and he just like has to go back in
Yeah.
time. Like
Yeah.
that gave me the chills.
It
Like
was
I
cool.
watched that and I
It
was
was
like,
cool.
oh my God,
Yeah.
like this is like nerd
Yeah.
heaven.
Overload. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
and it was awesome.
It is.
But it's funny how we went from the housing market to the Schneider
to
cut.
superheroes, yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars, superheroes, all the same.
Yeah, it is.
No, I think I get going back to the world that I live in. It's pretty interesting. Again, I think that's probably what makes it fun too. Is it's always evolving. Even though
Yeah.
a mortgage is a mortgage.
Yeah.
And we've had to develop a bunch of different ways to write one based on new rules and regulations. But essentially, it's an installment loan that you pay over 360 payments at 30 years, and it's kind of the same. But the way to I think what makes a difference, again, the market you're dealing with, the people you're dealing with, the ways to get business, to grow your business, all that stuff just changes all the time. So it's fun.
So I actually just thought of this. So I've heard a lot of mixed things when it came to getting a loan for a house.
Sure.
And this is sort of for honestly, the top 2%. But people who have money,
Yeah.
is it better for them to write out a check for the house or get a loan
Yeah.
for the house and just pay it off?
I'm going to disclaimer this. I'm not a financial advisor,
Yeah.
and I don't play one on TV.
Okay, that's fine.
No,
but
but
I'm just curious to get your thoughts
well,
on
the
that.
reality is this. I mean, it depends. It really depends on the person.
Yeah.
And what their portfolio looks like as far as in other investments and where that money is. So really so if you're gonna, here's the best way to look at it, right? If you're paying a debt at 3%, it's the same as saving money at 3%. Okay. So rather than pay a debt for 3%, you can keep that money in the bank and not spend the 3%, right? Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it from that simplistic perspective, if you can't make more than 3% on your money right now, go to your Dogecoin, right? I mean, if you can't make more than 3% on your money right now, and you're not trying very hard, you can make, if you have that much money, you can make money on it. Even if it's as simple as your 401k, if you have a company and you participate in a 401k, and they match you 2%, well, there's 2% on top of whatever interest you gain. Money automatically gets 2% as soon as you put it in, because they're going to match it anyway. Mm-hmm. So you already picked up 2. You can't make another 1% on that money over time. You probably can. So reality is, it usually doesn't make sense to put a bunch of money down on a mortgage if you don't have to. Yeah. It makes more sense to keep your money and play with it otherwise. But again, it's a very simple and it's a very safe investment, right? So it's 3%. So it's not like you're not looking for a lot. So at some point we might get the CDs that are around that number. So but we used to be a long time ago when interest was actually being paid on mortgages. But that's going to be a while. But at the same time, I just think that's the answer. There's no real answer. It just depends on what your overall portfolio looks like, and can you make more than 3% on the money elsewhere. Most likely you can make probably closer to 6, 7, 8% even if you just do some basic things. So it makes more sense usually to just invest your money.
Yeah. I had seen a couple different opinions on that, because you hear like somebody look at like a house in Newport or Narragansett, and they say, oh, that guy probably paid for that house in $100 bills. Yeah. But I'm like, really? Like, they probably just got
They
a
may
loan.
or may not have. I mean, like, we'll take, for instance, Taylor Swift. She paid cash for her house in Watch Hill when she bought it. But that's because she has billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
She has hundreds of billions? She's a billionaire?
I don't know, maybe not. But she's close. She's up there. I wouldn't. If you took her overall net worth, I would say she's probably close.
Wow.
Not
a fan, though.
But I'm not either, really. But I mean, I'm a fan of her as an individual and an entrepreneur. I'm not a huge pop fan of music, but
Shake it off.
Yeah. Oh, trust me.
Now that song
my kids are. So
that song is going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the day.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately,
you're welcome.
No, I'll have to listen to something else on the way up to my golf that I'm up.
Listen to the Knowledge is Power podcast.
There you go. That's right. Yes. I listened to a bunch of them already. They're really good. But no, I'll tell you that it really just depends. There's no easy answer. Sometimes financing properties that are that expensive can be very, very complicated. And so, maybe what they did was they paid cash, but they actually took that cash as a loan against one of their investments. Mm-hmm. And they're just paying it back to themselves, basically, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So that might be something they did. There's lots of different ways to do it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, because I don't know. Like scrolling through social media, I see a bunch of these
Right.
people who think they know everything
Right.
about.
Well, you see, like, I mean, the most common one I see, honestly, and I see it on TikTok a lot. Actually, it's funny, is the guy's talking about compound interest, and
Is that bulky guy got a deep voice?
Not the one I see. The one I see is actually a smaller guy. He's definitely a golfer. He's always in golf clothes. So, but of some, but he's this is what he talks about. He's like, he talks about it. Well, you can, if you put 20% down on a property, and this is how the money plays out based on what you put down. If you only put 3% or 5% down, which is what you normally have to put down as a first-time home buyer, you took that other 15% and you put it in some compound interest stuff. You'll end up with probably $1 million or $1.5 million more in net worth by the time you're done because of the money, the amount of money you made on that other 20% you should have put down. So there's a lot of the best answer is to just work with a financial advisor and talk it through and figure out what's going to be best for you, because there's no one answer. It's about what your risk is. Back to what we talked about with the budget, it's the same. It's going to be what is your risk threshold, what are you looking for, and what makes sense for you. But most of the time, any investor that sees a younger person trying to buy a house, when you go to buy your first house, you're most likely going to want to put as little down as you can so you can keep your other money and invest it.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I'll probably be buying one in New Hampshire, and I'll definitely go through you.
Matt's not licensed up there?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll
gotta
ask
talk
him.
to him first.
I haven't talked to him in a couple months, but we gotta go golfing with him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been working on my handicap.
All right, good.
I'm like a 17 now.
All right, boy.
Yeah. I shot an 88.
You excited or what?
Yeah.
Breaking 90 is a big deal.
Yeah, and it probably won't happen again this year.
Nah,
but I
stop
did
it.
I went. It was funny because I went with Frank and Scott
they're
and
good.
Steve Bertucci, but they went in front of me, and then I brought a couple of my friends.
Yeah.
But I was like one of those days where I was just playing. I didn't really think about the game because I was talking to my friend.
Yeah.
And I look at my scorecard. I'm like, holy crap. Like,
Yeah,
I just shot
look
an
what I
80.
did. Yeah, it's and it's funny when you play with those guys, Steve and Frank. It's like it's fun because they're good golfers and they love the game, which I think is again because I was never a golfer, like I was a 28 handicap, 7-8 years ago, and so and now I'm a 6, 7, or 8 or whatever 6. I think I'm a 7.
Wow.
But it was mostly because I had to be better than my son. I couldn't let him beat me, although he took that over anyway. But it was really just it was also as I just didn't want to be bad at it anymore. I don't want to be any better than I am now. Actually, I'm no good to anybody in a tournament at any handicap because that's really hard to meet or to be as good as all the time, especially since I don't practice all that much. So not anymore. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's really just one of those things. I really started to enjoy it. I started to love it, and so that's why I got better at it. Same with marketing or anything else. If you really enjoy doing what you're doing, it'll be easier.
Yeah, yeah. In golf, it's good to be good at golf because then if you go with a client, you can bet like business on it.
Right.
So you could potentially get some good business out of golf.
Well, it brings you in the room. I think what I told Sawyer, my 13-year-old, when he started playing, as I said, if you ever want to be in any room, if you're a good golfer, they're going to invite you because you're like they want you to come and show off, and then you'll be introduced to people that way. It's an easy introduction once you really put the time into it. So it's always going to be a business builder for you.
The more things you get involved with, the better,
for sure.
And it's like, and I'm coaching a baseball team, and I coached it because I love baseball.
Right.
But it's also a good thing to meet more people.
It's great.
You never know who you're going to run across.
Yeah, I coached wrestling. I wrestled in high school and college. I coached wrestling up in Warwick Police Athletic League's program with a bunch of buddies. My son wanted to get into wrestling, and I was like, "Oh, you sure?" And he's like, "Yep." So I was like, "Okay." So I went on there, and of course, one of the guys was a graduate from Rhode Island College. He's like, "You're coaching." I'm like, "Okay." So, so I ended up coaching, and I was a head coach for a little bit, but it was great. I mean, just met so many awesome people. Just these are people like BNI. Like these are people that I wouldn't come across every day unless I was coaching the kid in wrestling or I was in a room with them every week, networking with them, that kind of thing. And it's wonderful. And while yes, it helps your business, I think it grows you personally better, even more so. And I just think that's the best part.
Yeah, that's the biggest reason why I'm staying with BNI, especially now, is because. I feel like I'm progressing as a business and moving toward prototyping a lot more than I am promotional stuff, but I still want to push it.
Sure.
But prototyping
the connections will still be great for you.
and
you
the
know?
things you learn.
Yeah.
Like,
And the people that you can then, you're going to meet people and they're going to be like, oh, they're going to be like, well, I need an architect. And we're like, oh, I know this guy, Frank. He's amazing. You know what I mean? That kind of thing it's so powerful because then people are going to start being like, oh, they're going to think of you for that, but then also going to think about for you for what you actually do too. So
yeah, it's definitely an interesting group, and I'm glad that I got introduced to that. Sherry Curran got me. Yeah.
She's the queen of networking.
Yes. Yeah.
She's amazing.
And I'm actually having Joe Veely. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Yep, Joe Veely. Yep.
He's coming on next week.
Get ready. He's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to him a few times. I think the biggest thing we're going to have to get over is that he's a Yankees fan and I'm a Red Sox fan. So.
Yeah. Well, never mind. You don't have to do him. No. He's he's just one of the coolest guys. Like, I mean, talk about life experience. You might want to extend that podcast a little more than an hour for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he said his 43rd anniversary this week.
Yep. Him and yep.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, he's awesome. You're gonna love him. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and the guy I work for knows him.
Oh, good.
So he knew him when he was a kid.
That's not surprising.
Everybody knows him.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, well, he was obviously a political figure down here for a while.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he'll, look him up. He'll read about it. But he was involved with the town and South Kingstown very much for a long, long time.
Well, I know he owned.
He owned the rental place. Yep.
Lincoln Rentals, right?
Yep.
Are they still in business or did he sell?
I don't know. I know that he sold out of it, but I don't know if he closed it down. Honestly, that's terrible. I don't know that, but he ran that business for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was obviously that got him involved with a lot of things, but but then obviously that's what got him into politics too. But he's just, again, if you needed to have somebody on your side that just knows a whole bunch of everything, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Like Larry Fish, right?
Yeah.
Same
Larry.
person.
He said he'd come on. Is he back from Florida yet?
I don't think so. I think he comes back this week.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like, Larry's just, God, when you meet people and he's, again, just what we talked about, like just always looking to help everybody else.
Yeah.
In the same time, obviously he's a smart businessman, but he everything comes from the heart with him. So if he tells you something, it's probably 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good because I'm excited to talk to him.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, because I know him, but I haven't really talked to him just from the First Friday Coffees.
Yeah,
I see him.
You'll really enjoy it. It's a great conversation, and Phyllis's wife is just awesome, and his kids are great, and they're great people.
Yeah, who's that? Larry or Joe?
Larry, I'm talking.
Okay,
about.
Yeah, both of them.
Oh,
yeah.
You're talking about the First Friday Coffee. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So and his wife actually works at the chamber as well.
Yeah, I talked to her yesterday. Yeah,
she's sweetheart.
Yeah, she's great. But. Yeah, so I guess one of the last questions I wanted to ask you as the big kicker is if you wanted to be remembered for one thing or one quote or one piece of advice, what would that be? So, I'll tell you this, right? When I was a kid, when I was very young, my mom and dad gave me a book, and it was called The Giving Tree. You know The Giving Tree from Shel Silverstein? You don't have to know Shel Silverstein? Okay. I think so. Yeah, I know
so,
Shel Silverstein.
Yeah, so he obviously wrote lots of books, Where the Sidewalk Ends and all that stuff.
That's the one I know.
Yeah, that's the most popular.
Yeah.
But he wrote this book called The Giving Tree, and The Giving Tree was all about this boy in the tree. A tree was, technically a living thing, person that would talk to the boy and so forth. And the tree, every time the boy would come to the tree would give him something, like a leaf or cut down my limb so he can build a house or, And at the end of the day, and finally, the kid comes back and he's an old man, and he's sitting there and he's like, I just need a place to rest. He's like, well, sit here on my stump, right? The whole point of the story is that the tree just kept giving and giving and giving, and in giving he received the love that he wanted, right, or the love that he needed because he felt good about giving, right? So that's what I want to be known for. Anytime somebody comes to me for something, I'm happy to do it. Whether I've known you forever. Haven't known you forever, whatever. If you're a person and you want to come to me for something, come to me some advice or some help, I'm there. Like I'm most likely going to help you, even if you've tried to do me wrong at some point or whatever. Like I just don't hold grudges. I don't think that way. I'm happy to help you anytime. So that's what I want to be known for.
Cool, that's great, and I gotta see if I can get into that book again. I know it's a kid's book, but
it's great. It's a great book, and my parents actually wrote inside it. They would think of you all the time. This was when I was like 7 or 8,
Wow.
A young kid, and they think of you all the time. Every time we read this, or and they it's really cool. I still have it. My dog chewed on it at one point, but I still have the book.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a dog over a cat person, but
we're dog lovers too.
Yeah, But yeah, Alrighty, cool. Well, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you putting time aside to talk to me today.
I appreciate you inviting me, buddy. This is awesome.
Yeah, and before we go, I just wanted to read a little something that you put on Facebook the other day.
Sure.
Just to so people know how great of a person you really are. So Jeremy put this on Facebook, and since it's on Facebook, I figured
it's all right.
He
It's
said,
free game.
and it's a little bit long, but it said, the past 12 to 15 months has taught us all many things. Hopefully it has taught you the old cliche that tomorrow isn't promised to anyone is true. There is no way any of us could have predicted what happened last year and how it has and will continue to impact our lives going forward. It is tough and made even tougher by the division that seems to grow in this country every day. My family, as with many families, has been deeply impacted by this unfortunate set of circumstances, and all I can say is that anger and division is not the answer. Love, compassion, and understanding is. And if you and I don't agree on politics, sports teams, family values, religion, etc., so be it. I'm always happy to discuss it, but not to the point where I think less of anyone or let it affect my relationship with you. Be kind to people. Don't buy into the propaganda fed to us by politicians, media outlets, etc. If we all do our part and accept each other for who we are, this would be a little bit easier. That is awesome.
Yeah, it's true.
And I don't think you could have summed it up any better. And I definitely wanted to read that. I was going to read it in the beginning, but I just wanted people to know how great you are. And it's awesome.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Get a mortgage to this guy, support him, and
be kind to each other.
Yes, exactly. So thanks, everybody, and I will catch you in the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, bud.